Is there a toasted bagel equivalent to bread versus toast? Like, it doesn't become another word. You know, it's still a bagel.
Right.
Let's just assume that a bagel is toasted.
Yeah, why does bread become toast? That's so weird.
Yeah, but bagel
I'm not
just
even.
stays
I'm
bagel.
sober. I'm not high.
Yeah.
That's a really really interesting thing. Why does bread become toast?
Who just decided one day that like a bread just changes its name and form entirely when you?
Was it the first thing to be toasted? Like ever? Like was it like whoever got to be whatever got to be toasted first would be called toast from then on?
Except there's two of us.
We're both named Brian.
Brian's in the basement. Yeah.
Okay. Do you want to say the intro or should I? I feel like you said it. I said it last time.
I think so.
So you can like start.
Well, how to?
Just like say like hello, welcome to Brian's in the basement or something like that.
True.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
We should do that as like.
Yeah. No. That's no. Yeah. Yeah. We could do that.
But hello and welcome to Brian's in the Basement. There's a plane above us. I'm Brian Roque.
I'm Brian Danoff.
And yeah, we're back with the second episode.
Yeah, you know, we're it's been a while. It's been about a month.
Been a minute.
It's been a hot sec, as I like to say. And we've just I think we talked about it before. We've just been kind of basking in the glow of the first episode.
Exactly. Like kind of filtering through all the accolades and everything. And hopefully the sequel can be a Shrek 2 rather than a Beauty and the Beast 2, you know?
Right. Or, you know, an Attack of the Clones of our trilogy. Not that there's only going to be 3. There'll be many more, but...
Exactly.
You know, but yeah, so hopefully this episode... Oh, my water bottle just popped.
Opa!
Yeah. Mazel tov. Anyway, we really appreciate all the people who listened to the first episode. More than I thought would listen to us talk about nonsense for an hour.
Yeah, as of
47 minutes.
As of right now, it's like 130 something.
127 views. People. We got 7 likes on YouTube, no dislikes.
Yeah, so I mean
that like to dislike ratio is solid.
We're flawless so far.
We have 7 subscribers. 2 of them are probably our own accounts, so we'll call it 5.
Yeah, we have 5.
And we just got a lot of, you know, nice comments, and people seem to really enjoy it. And, you know, not to toot our own horn or anything, but yeah, it was a pretty good episode.
Yeah, it's pretty solid.
I don't know. And I heard you want to read off some of the comments?
Yeah, so my mom immediately, the great Patricia Roque, said, I enjoyed the podcast. It was very fun, and I loved Brian's song, Touch Me Deeply, when I was 14. Sad emoji. And I didn't know how to respond to that, so I did not. But appreciate the love and support, Mom, as always, and Dad as well.
Yeah, and I had some comments on the Facebook post I sent out. My friend Jacob Falberg said, wait, you actually did the podcast, in all caps. So kind of in an excited... I guess he didn't really think we would do it, but we did.
Right. Yeah.
Kelly Hooper, our friend, who kind of brought us together. We could always tell that story down the road, even have her on the show. Who knows?
Yeah, maybe.
Said yes. So exciting. That was a lot of S's. Sorry, Kelly. Just trying to read and be accurate. And my dad, the great Mark Danoff, said, pretty funny. Although I can't tell a lie, I only listened for like 10 minutes. Would much rather being in all caps, would much rather watch a video you made rather than just audio, but that's just me.
That's fair.
So, like, I get where he's coming from, and, like, obviously, like, you know, I have a face for radio.
Right.
So, no, I don't know. I think he's not a podcast connoisseur.
Yeah.
So, I get it where he's coming from.
Maybe we could throw together, like, a best bits, you know?
Yeah, we could always end up and you know we can eventually, I guess, film or go on camera with this podcast.
Right, take it to the big screen rather than the small audio.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
and yeah, I mean, I don't know how it's aesthetically pleasing it would look of us just sitting on our couches in our basement apartment.
But except we don't have a couch.
We don't have a couch. You're right.
Unfortunately,
these are love seats.
Yeah, we have 3 love seats that make it very, like, movie theater-esque, which nothing wrong with it. But,
no.
You know?
No, there's nothing wrong with it, per se. I mean, it would have been nice if we had an actual couch, but we can't complain because these couches or these love seats came with the apartment.
Yeah.
So
and they're comfy.
They are comfy. They're pretty comfy. But they don't recline.
Yeah, that's true.
I'd love if they had the pull-out.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
You could just put your feet up on.
I usually just like put two of them together, and I'm like, bam, it's a bed. And then,
a couple weeks ago, I heard it sounded like some moving furniture, and sure enough, I came out of my room and it was Brian at like 2 a.m, trying to basically what he said, move the love seats and turn them into a bed. And he was like, yeah, I'm going to sleep out here. I'm like, no, you're not. He's like, yes, I am. And then 10 minutes later, I heard him go back in his room, and I was right.
Yeah.
So
that's where we're at. I work at Trader Joe's, and I do a lot of 6 a.m. shifts. So I try to get to bed hecka early at like 11. So inevitably, if I'm hearing a bunch of planes or people partying, party rock, like I'm just like I gotta get to my sleep so I can get up at 4:30.
Yeah,
but here we are.
Speaking of Trader Joe's, this episode is brought to you by Pumpkin Bagels.
Yeah, Bagels.
Trader Joe's. This isn't an official sponsorship, but I think it's so funny when podcasters randomly segue into advertisements.
Yeah, I agree.
But
yeah, Pumpkin Bagels, they're really great. You throw them in the toaster oven. They don't come pre-cut. I don't know how I feel about that.
I kind of like when you have to cut your own bagels because it's just because sometimes you're like who cut these?
You're right,
and it's like how dirty was the blade that was used to cut this?
Exactly, like it keeps you humble. You can't have everything done for you.
You really can't. I mean, if that's not the biggest lesson I've learned this year,
right?
I don't know what is.
Goes great with cream cheese.
It does. Yeah, I'm a big cream cheese guy.
I'm a cream cheese guy as well.
Like butter's fine, but for me butter's more like toast.
Yeah, it just goes away. Like it just melts.
And it barely.
Where's it go? Yeah. Does it just absorb into the bread?
It gets all soggy and wet.
Yeah,
and it's like yuck.
Is there a toasted bagel equivalent to bread versus toast? It doesn't become another word? It's still a bagel.
Right.
Let's just assume that a bagel is toasted.
Yeah, why does bread become toast? That's so weird.
Yeah, but bagel.
I'm sober. I'm not high.
Yeah.
That's a really really interesting thing. Why does bread become toast?
Who just decided one day that a bread just changes its name and form entirely when you?
Was it the first thing to be toasted? Ever? Was it whoever got to be whatever got to be toasted first would be called toast from then on?
Yeah.
If the first thing they toasted was I don't know I guess all you toast is bread, but
yeah,
you know what I mean though.
I mean, I understand the differentiation between water and ice, because it's you turn water into ice cubes. It's a liquid and solid.
Right.
But bread and toast, it's still bread. It's just cooked bread.
Yeah. It's cooked bread.
Yeah,
exactly.
Which is my new band, Cooked Bread.
God, cooked white bread. Oh my gosh, man. So 30 minutes later.
Yeah,
I'm kidding. So do we want to kind of segue into our first topic?
Yeah.
So I guess I shouldn't announce should we segue into our first topic because that's just so. I don't know.
I know what you mean.
I shouldn't just say, do you want to segue? There has to be a better way to talk about that. Stan Lee died.
He did. He passed away.
That was my abrupt. There wasn't a segue.
95?
95 years old.
Crazy.
People are very sad about it. I personally, I'm obviously sad, but I'm way more just appreciative and grateful that we had him for as long as we did.
Right, and it's unbelievable that he literally created an entire universe that will just live on, not only past him obviously, but past us, and these characters will be continuing to be produced and remade into other movies and other things. It's insane.
Yeah, I mean it's one thing to people artists are remembered for specific works of art.
Mm.
You have the Mona Lisa, you have
the Mona Lisa.
The Mona Lisa.
Yeah.
You have the Mona Lisa.
Right.
Basically, but that's one piece of art that but it's like Stan Lee created, as you said, a universe and like so many different characters and so many different worlds that are, as you said, going to live on forever. And like, his legacy isn't just like one thing. Obviously Spider-Man is the biggest character he ever made, or is considered to be the most popular superhero he made. But it's like, you go down the list and it's like they're all so great and they're all so
and particularly with like this new sort of like literal phase of superhero movies and sort of the immense popularity that they have gained throughout the years with the start of like Iron Man and things like that. But even before that, with the original Sam Raimi Spider-Man series and things that have kind of gained traction, that superhero movies can really be its own form and its own genre. It's been really crazy to watch that build and how it's just going to continue to go on. And I think I speak for Brian when I say like, we actually, I feel like we're not the most qualified to talk about Stan Lee's legacy and his career because like, our age, we're so young, like we don't remember a lot of what came before us, but also we're not super into comic books. We love comic book movies. Right. But I'd be lying to you if I've ever read more than one or two comics cover to cover. Yeah. But still, I mean, that goes to show you though, just like how much of an impact you can still feel, and how much of a connection Stan Lee still made with people who did not read his comic books. We did not read his comic books, and yet we love his characters and love seeing him in all the cameos he made, and you can just tell how special and how loved he was by everyone around him and the people he worked with. Yeah, and how much he loved doing it, and the fact that he would continue to do all these cameos.
He never retired.
He never retired. 95 years old, never retired. Yeah. That's insane. And he was... I was watching an interview recently that he did with Conan, and that was from like 1995, and at that point he was already had been in the business for 50 years, and even that, like, that's mind-boggling that you can be doing one thing your entire life. Yeah. And still be as into it when you're 95 as when you're 15.
I think there's something that's like really cool to be said about that because like, we're in this mindset, and I think this like idea that like, oh, everyone retires. Everyone who does anything at some point gets tired of it, or for some reason has to walk away and stop doing it. But yeah, Stan Lee was like, I don't remember. It's not an exact quote, but he was just like, I love what I do, and why would I ever stop? If I'm happy, if what I do makes me happy, and if what I do keeps me going, why would I ever stop? Right. And obviously people don't have that luxury. Some people do work a 9-to-5 job that they hate for 30 years and then retire because they want to get away and, do something that actually does excite them. But in his case, I mean, he had one of the best jobs in the world.
Right.
I mean,
and he literally could sort of absorb himself into a world that was his own creation. And I think what's really cool, and like one thing that he was quoted by, I'm going to like misquote it, but he talked about how anyone can relate to the characters because like underneath the mask, that could be anyone. Like that could be any of us. Yeah. Like in that Spider-Man costume, kind of like just saving the city. Like that can be anyone in our poster that's in our living room of Spider-Man 2. And like it's so cool to sort of be in this era where people can look up to superheroes in that way and just be able to have it as a form of escape and something that will just always live on.
Yeah, I mean, you said it. I mean, especially with like Spider-Man, because both of us are huge Spider-Man fans. And the reason why I think I love Spider-Man so much, and I'm sure you feel the same way, and I'm sure most people who love Spider-Man would agree with what I'm saying, but it's the fact that Peter Parker is a nobody and a nerd. Yeah. And is picked on and is it's been said a billion times, of course, in so many different ways, but it is the relatability factor. Peter Parker is not Superman. Right. He's not just an alien from outer space who just has superpowers. He's a normal kid from New York City who just randomly one day gets bit by a spider. And that's how me personally growing up in New York, I mean, not New York City, Westchester, which is just north of New York City. But it's like, I was always looking around, making sure there wasn't a radioactive spider. And if there was, I would chase it down and hope it bit me. Exactly. And because I'm like, and he made it seem so like you said, it's like anyone could be a superhero.
Yeah.
And like I remember like my parents will attest to this, like until I was like 8 or 9, a lot of the time I wore a Spider-Man costume under my clothes.
Absolutely.
I think I did it a couple times to school, and then more often on the weekends.
Yeah.
When I would just be able to like strip in my front yard and just all of a sudden be Spider-Man. I remember doing that so vividly, and
amazing.
like I had so much fun, and like I'd just be hanging out with my friends, and I would just unzip my jacket and I'd be Spider-Man, and it was like I had so many dreams about like, oh gosh, and it's all thanks to him. It's all because of him.
Yeah, it's insane, and how his one idea can spark new ideas in other people, and like how they can live their lives. And like I had a Spider-Man backpack as a kid, like I have a Spider-Man costume now, and like mostly Brian like played through the Spider-Man game, which is like amazing. God. And it's crazy how like someone can just create a character, and he created hundreds, but the like one character that anyone can just like relate to and stick onto. But then they can also with all of his other characters, and it's crazy that he created like literally this universe of characters that will have their own storylines and like threads throughout like different places, and it's awesome. It's so cool.
Yeah, and like obviously, like he had help. He had Steve Ditko. He had a couple other people he worked closely with, and obviously later on a whole team of writers. But yeah, I mean, the vision came from him, and it's like, and it I go back and forth on it where I'm like, if there wasn't Stan Lee, would another person have done this sort of thing? And it's like, it takes a once in a lifetime kind of person, and like a real like genius to do something like this.
Yeah.
Like this wasn't superheroes like Stan Lee's superheroes weren't thought of back. Superheroes were these just random people, not even people, who just had like superpowers, and there was no explanation, and they were just like they're super because they're super, and
more so gods than,
and there was less of a focus on there wasn't much of a focus on their alter egos.
Right.
Not to say, obviously Clark Kent and Superman, that was before Stan Lee, but like, and yes, there was always that alter ego side, but it was the relatability, and it was again it was the feeling that anyone can be a superhero, and that one thing I love about the movies so much is that, it shows like these superheroes aren't perfect. Like in the action scenes, like, yeah, sure, the CGI is perfect and they land every punch and it looks all, perfect and polished. But in every other scene of these kind of superhero movies, they're really struggling with like real human issues.
Yeah, I completely agree. And like, I think what's super interesting is that they all have their flaws. And with Superman, though, they had to literally create kryptonite because it was so boring for him to just be perfect and be able to have all these powers and to be able to feed people so easily that they created kryptonite to like literally be his kryptonite. Yeah. And so they're like,
kryptonite was added after they started making. Oh, I didn't know that.
They're like, oh man, we should probably make something that like he can't really come back from. And whereas Stan Lee right from the get-go was like, I mean, these people are human. Like they got to have their like literal flaws, and like Peter Parker, for example, has to do homework and like all these like things that normal kids would have to do, and it's really cool.
Yeah, and another thing, and he also, he was. I've read a lot of things about him, and there, I never met him, never got within. I don't know. I went to Comic-Con one year, and I don't think he was there. But people. I've heard people try to paint him as, some people said like, oh, he was bigoted or racist, and then like so many people who worked so closely with him for so many years were like, no, that couldn't be further from the truth.
Yeah.
If anything, he preached equality and tried to incorporate more diversity into his superheroes and into his comic books. And we have him to thank for, I mean, not directly, but the likes of Black Panther and woman superheroes, and that that wasn't thought of before Marvel Comics.
And there was an interview I saw recently where, like I was saying earlier, how like anyone could be under that mask, and he referred to literally everyone, and how like anyone can relate to his characters, and that anyone can be those characters. And Like, just because, like, the description may say one thing, it doesn't necessarily mean that that's, like, who that character is. And so, like, with the alliances of, like, Miles Morales and things like that, it's, like, it's so cool to just see how his universe expanded into that way. And I think he'll always just be remembered not only for the things he created, but, like, for being the guy who did it.
Yeah.
And created them.
And it's like, and I'm always going to feel so grateful and, like, indebted to him just because, like, like you know, Spider-Man and like Marvel comic book movies have been such a big part of my childhood.
Yeah.
And continue to be a big part of my life now as I'm in my 20s, you know, as we're in our just started our 20s.
Yeah,
and,
that's good.
you know, Marvel movies don't seem to be slowing up. You know, Avengers 4 comes out in May and like, you know, Captain Marvel comes out in February or March. And,
and then Spider-Man Far From Home, like,
it just keeps going. And it's like, it's, you know, that wouldn't be a thing without him. And, you know, I go back and forth on superhero movie fatigue.
Yeah.
I think it's gotten. I think it was more because of the quality of the movies in recent years than the actual idea of movies coming out every year. Because like around the time, like right after like Avengers: Age of Ultron, I was like, I'm getting tired of this.
Yeah, there was a lull for sure.
But then like, you know, Ant-Man came out, and then Civil War came out, and then Black Panther, and then Homecoming, and then Avengers: Infinity War, and it's like, okay, these are good movies. So like, it doesn't matter how often they're coming out because they're good. So like, this is a random tangent, but just like, you know, I mean, yeah, what he started, what he created. I mean, think of all the money Marvel has made.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh.
And all the jobs he's created. Like inevitably by just creating these characters, you get the CGI people. You get all these people that are working on these movies. Like hundreds, like maybe thousands of jobs like were created from like this one dude's mind.
And you know, you think about how many movie stars' careers would have been different. And it's funny because you see on Instagram and like Twitter and like people from all parts of Hollywood were thanking him and posting pictures with him. You know, people you don't even think of.
Yeah.
But especially like, you know, Robert Downey Jr. I mean, his career was over.
He literally and he was not in a good place.
No.
And like so many people.
Hugh Jackman would not have been Wolverine.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, it's insane to think about how many lives he touched and how many lives he changed directly and indirectly.
Yeah, like now it's basically like if you are a superhero, like you're automatically an A-list celebrity, you know? It's like going to Broadway for like a film person. Like, you know, like you're automatically
no one knew. I didn't know who Tom Holland was 2 years ago.
Yeah, like he was in Impossible and like couple other things, but other than that, like
now everyone
you would never know.
Yeah.
And then there's the Timothy Chalamets of the world, obviously, but he's not a superhero, you know? Like it's still like those things that no matter how successful someone may be, it's like, but are they a superhero? Like
right. And it's funny because superhero movies used to be the thing that people like if you did a superhero movie, it was like, oh, you're not an A-list actor.
Yeah, it's like, oh, you're sinking down to do a superhero
only
movie.
B and C-list actors do superhero movies. And now we see Matt Damon having cameos in Thor Ragnarok and like, you know, people begging to be let into the MCU.
Right.
Like, yeah, I mean, you look at the actors who have played Marvel characters. You have Andrew Garfield. I mean, again, Robert Downey Jr. and all these people who are totally, they're A-list, they're the top of the top in Hollywood. Yeah. And they're playing these superheroes. And it's like, you know, it's really cool.
Yeah, it's awesome.
I don't know how much more we're going to talk about Stan Lee. I mean, we can sit here all night and talk about
honestly. But off of that, one of the offshoots of the Marvel Cinematic Universe is the Marvel Sony universe.
Oh yeah, we were having such a good conversation. I'm gonna get mad.
I know. I'm sorry to bring this up.
No, it's worth talking about. I mean, it's a weird segue, but I did want to talk about it. Venom. Was a movie that came out.
It was.
And it's kind of funny because I forgot about it. I think you've forgotten about it. I think everyone has collectively forgotten about it. It came and went. Came out last month, and it's like...
It sure did. It is still, in theaters, but, it's, in theater. It's there. You know?
It's playing in, theater 18 of 18.
Right. At, 3:40 p.m.
And 1 in the morning.
Yeah.
Just random times. It was really bad.
Yeah, it was rough.
I don't... the whole Marvel Sony thing it's just been so frustrating.
I know, and now hopefully with that whole deal, the Disney deal with 20th Century Fox and all that, hopefully it'll get better. But I don't even know. And But essentially, Venom, starring Tom Hardy, was their attempt at introducing the character of Venom into his own solo movie. And by making him like this anti-hero hero character and introducing him as his own entity, like without even including Spider-Man.
Yeah, and it's it didn't work for me. Like I went in open-minded. I had heard mixed things about it, mixed reviews, and I like Tom Hardy a lot.
Yeah.
And like if you separate just the scenes of like Tom Hardy by himself and as Venom, I think those are pretty good and entertaining.
Yeah, I think if it was a short film of like those conversations, it would be a great short film. But.
Yeah, but the rest of the movie, the plot is just so bad and like, cut and dry, and like Riz Ahmed, who's such a great actor, was given so little to do, and Michelle Williams too. This is a really good cast.
Oh my god! Until you said that 2 seconds ago, I forgot she was in the movie.
Right?
Yeah.
Because she barely was, and she had nothing to do. And
yeah.
And it was just a plane's flying over our heads because we live right by Logan Airport.
Yeah, a lot of planes. They keep trying to like listen to what we're talking about.
I guess. I mean, yeah, Venom was just really disappointing, and like, I get it. Like Sony, you have these movie rights, and like, you want to make these. The Venom movie, like, how do you do a Venom movie without Spider-Man? It's fine if you want to make a Venom movie and call it Venom and have it focus on Venom, but his whole character is based upon Peter Parker's involvement too, and Spider-Man's involvement, and and the idea that, and I think no one really knows, like, is this Venom going to end up fighting or coming into contact with Tom Holland's Spider-Man? Like, are they going to do their own live actions? There's rumors that. So apparently, Spider-Man, Tom Holland only signed on for. Not that he only signed on. I think Marvel and Sony had like a 4-movie agreement.
Oh, right. This very specific contract.
Civil War, Infinity War, Homecoming, and Far From Home.
Mm.
And apparently, there's rumors that like, Sony might be like, we're taking Tom Holland back,
stealing Tom Holland.
We're gonna make our own movies with him, and he's not gonna be in the MCU, or they can be like, you keep Tom Holland, we're gonna get another live action. It's getting so confusing.
Yeah. That must be so interesting to be Tom Holland and to play such a powerful superhero in such a powerless position of not knowing what studio you're like attached to.
It's so weird, and it's so interesting too, because like, it's still piggybacking off of Stan Lee, like, Marvel sold all the rights to their superheroes because I think they were like they weren't making any money in like the 80s and 90s because comic books like stopped being
they weren't in
profitable, so they sold all their rights, and like, Marvel obviously has acquired a lot of them back. And they bought 20th Century Fox, and
and now like they're owned by Disney, so they have all the money in the world. But
Disney bought 20th Century Fox, right? And so like, but it's so interesting, like superhero movie rights. Like I wish it was just like, and obviously it's just me talking, like, it's like, well, why can't, like, if a studio has a good idea for a movie and has like the good intentions, like, go make it. But like, they made Venom because they had the goal in mind of like setting up a universe and a Sony universe just to challenge Marvel, but at the same time they're working with Marvel.
Yeah. It's interesting, like, the whole theme of like public domain, because the reason why there's so many Robin Hood movies and there's so many like random like characters and stuff is because these characters are in the public domain, so it's kind of like anyone can take these characters and do whatever they want with them and like make whatever content they would like. But as far as like superheroes go, there aren't a lot that are, and the ones that are, I've done like actually a lot of research for like writing a musical about superheroes, which is such a nerdy sentence, and they're just the weirdest, most absurd superheroes, and like that no one would ever want to make a movie about. And so it's really interesting.
And part of me just like, I wish at this point, it's like Sony and like Universal and like all these other studios, DC included, like they're fighting an uphill battle that they can't win.
Right.
Marvel is at the top of this mountain, and they are just picking people off with like a sniper rifle one by one. Like, you can't top Marvel. I wish they just decided like, okay, Marvel, you win, and they have. Yeah. They've won this decade. They've won last decade. Marvel is the king right now.
Yeah.
But, one day they probably won't be. One day it'll slow down. Right. One day they'll make a clunker and everything will all come unraveling. So, like, stop trying to challenge them now. Like, your time is not now. Yeah. You can't compete with them.
I think most of DC movies, like particularly Suicide Squad and Batman v Superman, are there to kind of remember that, like, oh, superhero movies can be bad and they can be done poorly.
Yeah.
So then when you see a good superhero movie, you're reminded, like, okay, yeah. So rather than being sort of inundated with all these great superhero movies and never being surprised by anything, then you kind of get to take a step back when you see these movies and be like, oh yeah, like, we have it good.
It just upsets me, like, because like it's so obvious to me, and like everyone knows it, and even the other studios know it. It's like Marvel's undisputed king, so it's like, and they keep trying to force out these and they rush to make these really bad, choppy, bad CGI, bad acting movies, and just to try to get some piece of that pie, but like, you're not making good movies.
Yeah, like when I'm in class and I throw together a PowerPoint and I present it, and I'm like, I feel alright about that, and then someone else goes up and they kill it. I'm like, oh man, like I know, like I did not do as well, but so it must be an interesting feeling for DC to kind of go through all these movies and not necessarily know what they're doing wrong, and to just be like, why isn't it to that caliber? And it must suck
because they're trying to play catch up. Like they rushed to make Justice League just for the sake of saying, oh, we made our own team up movie.
And the Flash is one of my like favorite characters ever, and they just made him like this like whiny, like whimsical, like written wise, just like, oh, I'm here to tell a quick-witted thing and then get punched, and that was like his whole arc, that whole movie. And
it just doesn't have to be like I mean, I don't want to discredit what Marvel does, but it's like, it's to me like their movies are so good, and like I'm not saying everyone's perfect, and I have issues with almost all of them. Like I don't think any one of them is like great or fantastic,
right?
But they're all really good.
Yeah,
I think it's hard to argue otherwise, and they make it look so effortless. It's like it doesn't look like it's that hard to make a movie that's just good.
Yeah,
because they made so many of them, and like, like the worst ones are just like kind of only sort of bad.
Yeah,
there isn't a terrible Marvel movie right now.
And they usually come from like a problem within production of like a random like director thing or something of the sort. It doesn't normally like from like start to finish is a bad movie.
Right.
But
yeah, I don't know.
That's the thing.
That's the thing. It wasn't even about Venom. Venom doesn't even deserve our time. It's just so bad. They're gonna make a Venom. Spoiler alert, I guess. They're gonna make a Venom versus Carnage movie in the next one. But it's like I'm not even excited. If you had told my 10-year-old self like there's gonna be a Venom versus Carnage movie, I would lose my mind.
Yeah, I do.
But here I am, and I'm like, I don't even care. I hope the movie doesn't get made. The only thing I am a little intrigued about is that Woody Harrelson's gonna play Carnage.
Right, and I love him and everything.
I love Woody Harrelson unconditionally.
Yeah.
No matter what, but I don't know.
But speaking of Woody.
Oh, shoot. That's really good. Oh, my gosh. Yeah, speaking of Woody.
You'd think I'd done this once before.
That's really good. Oh, that's awesome.
We should talk about... so the Toy Story 4 trailer came out.
Oh, you almost had it.
We were like basking in
we were bragging about it. We thought we already did it. We were done. What
goodbye.
A beautiful segue. Toy Story 4.
Yeah, the trailer came out.
Wow. Two trailers came out now.
Yeah, which like 2 days in a row. Like, but bam. I'm hoping we get one every day until it comes out.
That'd be awesome. Imagine they made that much content.
That'd be crazy.
Oh my god.
They'd make so much money. But also probably lose so much money.
But yeah, that's true. But yeah, Toy Story 4 is coming out, and like I just this is getting the this turn, like I was really negative in the last part of it because I was talking about like the terrible nature, how bad Venom was and how bad the whole. I'm so excited for Toy Story 4.
Oh my god!
I think I need Toy Story 4 in my life yesterday.
Yeah.
And it's funny because so like the first trailer doesn't really give anything away, I don't think it's even on. It's a T. There's definitely none of it is footage from the movie.
Right.
There's no way, because if you watch it, and I think everyone's seen it, it's like, they're all just like hanging out, and then like they show like the Fork character.
Yeah.
Named Forky. And he's made out of a plastic fork, and he like apparently the plot is about, or partly about, this toy, this fork that Bonnie makes at school as like an arts and crafts project.
Right.
That becomes a toy, or is a toy, and like doesn't know if it is a toy. Like it itself like doubts itself and is like doesn't know if it belongs. And it's like, I don't know, like already I'm so excited, and I was skeptical at first. Like when I first saw Toy Story 3, I think everyone felt the same way. Like this is the end of Toy Story. Like this is it. They can't make another one. And it's funny because I'm not sure. I like to think Pixar is like, and obviously they've made a lot of sequels recently. Some good, some okay, some bad. I like to believe Pixar because I remember when right after Toy Story 3, they were like, "No, this is it. There's no more Toy Story."
Right, exactly.
Toy Story 3 ended on a perfect note, and we don't want to go back to that well too many times. And they held that for like 3-4 solid years.
Yeah.
And then they were like, "Nah, just kidding. We're making Toy Story 4."
Right. Yeah, and they talked a lot about how like they were not going to make another one unless they knew that it was going to be better or
as good
as the past Toy Stories, and which gives me even more confidence that it's going to be really good, along with the comments that Tom Hanks and Tim Allen have been saying about like recording and like the ending and everything.
Yeah, both of them were like, basically I could barely keep it together. Yeah, they both said like the same thing, like they could barely keep it together at like during their last scenes they filmed or recorded. And that Tim Allen is like, what they've done is like a cinematic achievement, and it's like gonna blow people away. Yeah, and it's like, and to me, I'm sitting here thinking like, what the hell is gonna be in this movie? Because the first 3 movies, like, yes, they're amazing, and I love them, but yes, they're groundbreaking in terms of animation.
Yeah, and like first computer animated like movies.
But like the plot isn't anything like superb, and like nothing that happens in the movie is like blows my mind. Right. What my and again, I think I don't know, I'm not the first person to think about this, but like when I first read his comments, I'm like, what else could make them like, are they gonna die?
Exactly.
Or like, somebody dying in this movie, Toy Story 4?
Like, but how do toys die?
And how would they do it that would make it a cinematic, beautiful achievement? Right. Like, what is that?
Like, I mean, my mind keeps going to that scene in Toy Story 3 when they're all in that landfill and they're like holding hands, but then they get saved by the claw. Yeah. Spoiler alert. And that, like, I remember sitting in the theater in middle school, bawling my eyes out, trying to look cool in front of my friends. And I just like couldn't.
I was like, when I first saw that, I'm like, wow, they're dying.
Yeah,
there's
like,
no way they're getting out of this.
Yep. I was like, there's no ex machina here. Like they are, like
the claw.
Yeah,
that was so great. But yeah, I'm like, the more I wasn't even thinking about that before we started talking about that. But yeah, that's really getting at me. I'm like, and obviously, like, look, actors sell movies, right? We're gonna hear that it's the best Toy Story movie from both of them. Mm-hmm. Whether that's true or not is another thing. But but at the same time, Toy Story, he doesn't need to sell Toy Story. No. He doesn't need to say that. And he doesn't need to say that now, especially almost more than half a year away from the movie coming out. So for him to say that, for them to be saying that, like...
Oh, my gosh.
I don't know, dude. It's like... And again, it's like, if it's not that they die...
Yeah, then what is it?
What is this amazing thing they've done? Yeah. I don't know.
Randomly become live action, like become human? Like,
oh, my God. Imagine that.
Yeah, I don't know. I think what's interesting about Pixar is that I feel like Pixar will always exist, but I feel like it's going to be very difficult for them to start topping themselves and like continue to do that. And I feel like they have their gems and like they have their inside outs and like their things that kind of like break the norm of what animated movies can do. Yeah. But I'm wondering when it'll just be enough and like... And the same thing with, like, the superhero genre. Like, right. I wonder when people will get tired of the Pixar formula or the superhero genre of movies.
Yeah, and again, like, as we were saying, like, they didn't want to make another one unless they knew it would be as good. Or right. But apparently it still went through a lot of rewrites. John Lasseter was originally going to direct this, and Rashida Jones was helping write it.
Oh yeah,
and
yeah.
she left, and of course John Lasseter left.
Mm-hmm.
So it's been through rewrites since they've announced it, which kind of gives me some concern. But and again, part of me also, though, I do trust Pixar, and I feel like, they were willing to make a Cars 2, and they probably knew it wasn't good, but they knew it would sell toys and it would still make money.
It's one of the most like profitable toy like from any sort of like movie.
Yeah,
thing,
but what I'm saying is like I think they know. Like I think they literally would have canceled this movie if they knew it wasn't going to be as good.
Yeah,
because Toy Story is the one thing they have never messed up.
Yeah.
That people, I personally, I like Monsters University. I hate Cars 2. I like Cars 3. Their sequels have been hit or miss. I loved Incredibles 2.
Yeah, Incredibles 2 is great.
Really loved it. But it's like, I feel like they know, there was still a risk with all those movies, but it's like Toy Story, like, you cannot make Toy Story 4 bad.
Right.
It cannot.
Especially because it's the fourth, and the fourth is usually when things kind of go off the deep end, like Shrek the Fourth off the deep end.
Yeah.
After Prisoner of Azkaban, I'm kidding. I don't know.
It's weird. Prisoner of Azkaban, that's the third one.
Yeah, but Goblet of Fire. Goblet of Fire is good.
Did you throw your name in the Goblet of Fire? Anyway.
Edward died.
Yeah. But yeah, it's like, it's interesting because like I'm gonna be so excited. I am already excited. And it's funny because I was talking to my parents because I saw Toy Story 3 with my parents, and I was 12 years old. And back then I was like, wow, I'm old. I'm an old man in this theater.
Yeah, right.
Surrounded by all these kids, and like, I'm too old for this, right?
Yeah,
and
I'll be
fast
able
forward
to,
9 years later, I'm gonna be 21.
I'll be able to legally drink watching Toy Story 4.
Oh my god,
isn't that weird?
I can't do that.
Yeah, like grab me a Miller Lite.
No,
I'm assuming.
No, but like I wouldn't want to do that. Would you?
I wouldn't either. No, not
you have
at
to
all.
experience it sober.
Yeah,
and maybe see it the second time.
Yeah,
a little buzz. I don't know. Buzz! Oh shoot! I did not even mean to say that. But no, yes, like I'm gonna go into Toy Story 4 though, because like, just like on my last point, like I'm gonna be a little hesitant. I'm like, please be good the whole time.
I know it's
watching it. I'm like, please be good.
I feel like I'm gonna
good.
get a better experience the second time I see it than the first time.
Definitely,
because I feel like the first time I'm just gonna be like looking for flaws, and the second time I'm just gonna be there to like enjoy it again.
Yeah,
but we'll see. I'm excited.
Yeah, it should be great.
And what's crazy is like we're talking about it now, and it's like it's in so long, and then probably in September or whenever we inevitably like keep it going, it's like it's not that far away because these past 3 years have flown by.
Yeah,
and I can't even. I'm just gonna wake up one day and be like, oh, it came out today. Like it's one of those things. And
what's funny was Toy Story 3, the whole Andy going off to college thing. I remember when I saw it I remember seeing that with my mom when it came out.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember her crying at the end of the movie because she's like, that's going to be you soon. And I was like, oh, please, I'm in 6th grade. Yeah. I got a long ways to go. Sorry, I was like, I'm in 6th grade. I got a long ways to go.
Years to go.
And then here we are. We're in college. We did that whole goodbye thing.
Yeah. And now it'll be another goodbye.
Oh, man. I'm not emotionally ready for that.
Yeah.
So we're going to be seeing Toy Story 4 during the summer before our senior year of college.
Yeah, which is like
and it's going to have some sort of message of like moving on or
because they know that their audience, other than kids, is the people who grew up with these movies, which is like people in their 30s now, I guess.
Yeah.
The first one came out in what, 1998?
Yeah, 1995.
1995.
Second one came out in 99, crazy. And the third one came out in 2010.
Yeah, I was very wrong, but damn, yeah, they.
It's so again, like I don't even think like. I feel like the ratio, and I mean, well, this is a dumb comment because it's a kids' movie. Of course, every kid needs to bring their parent to see the movie.
Yeah.
But like, I feel like the ratio of like parent to kid for this movie will be even higher.
Yeah,
like definitely. I think 80% parents or just adults and 20% kids.
It was like that for when I saw Finding Dory 3 times. Like it was very much like that.
And it's funny too because like I assume that most parents are raising their kids, showing them Toy Story, but it's like. When you ask like your average 5 or 6 year old, they care about.
When you take a survey,
when you do an Emerson poll, of kids, it's Minions. It's
but
it's what was the other movie that came out with the singing animals?
Oh, Sing.
Sing.
What's that talking film?
Well, I love that. I forgot that was called that. They were definitely like, all right, what do we name this movie? Like, there's singing animals.
Yeah, they
I like the intern in the back. What about Sing? You got it.
Genius. Exclamation point? No. All right.
So, like, Toy Story hasn't been, like, I feel like, because Toy Story 4, it's going to come out 9-10 years after the third one. So it's like, it's been a weird generational thing.
It's been a minute, yeah.
Where it's like, kids who were 5 when they saw Toy Story 3 are going to be in high school.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's so weird.
That's crazy.
They're going to be 14, 13, 14, 15.
Yeah, I think... Yeah, it's a crazy thing, like how these movies can just kind of like be sort of like a time lapse of like someone's life too, in a way. It's really interesting.
Yeah, I mean, gosh, it's cool though. I mean, I think there's definitely something to be said about like the oversaturation of sequels and going back to the well too many times. But it's like Toy Story. It's like
it's the exception.
It's the exception, and it's so like the first 3 are so good.
Yeah,
like they changed my life. Like it's kind of insane how much they mean to me. So like Pixar, please, if you have any faults with this movie right now, go and fix them.
Yeah, you got time.
I will be very upset.
You have time.
The last thing I need is to go see Toy Story 4 before my senior year of college and have it be bad.
Yeah,
that'd be really. That would set the tone for a terrible summer, a terrible rest of my life.
Yeah, that'd be sad.
So no pressure, Pixar.
That's it.
Yeah. So
that's all, folks.
Anything else you want to talk about?
And then along with the Toy Story 4 trailer, the Pikachu trailer came out, which is a totally different thing.
It was a weird day yesterday.
Yeah,
Stanley
weird
died,
day.
Toy Story 4 trailer, and then Detective Pikachu.
Yeah, Detective Pikachu, which like when I heard Ryan Reynolds' voice, first of all I had no idea that this movie was happening.
Yeah,
and then recognized that Ryan Reynolds is playing the part. It was just like such a weird strain of emotion.
When I first started watching the trailer, I'm like, okay, this is interesting. They're just having it be like, it's Pikachu, but it's also Ryan Reynolds. And I'm like, why does he sound like Ryan Reynolds? Why is he talking like Ryan Reynolds? And then they do the whole, oh, well, no, when people hear me talk, they hear Pika Pika, but this is actually what I say. Like, Pika Pika's a language.
Yeah.
And no one understands it. Like, it's like I am Groot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now we're going to solve crimes and get your father something or other.
Yeah, something along those lines. I don't know. It's it looks okay.
Yeah. I think it's kind of weird that Pikachu is CGI as if he were like a real animal. But then the other like Pokemon characters I saw were very much animated. So I don't know if Pikachu is like an entity in and of itself, and then the other ones are kind of like, I don't know.
It's also weird because, like, correct me if I'm wrong, and like, I'm not the biggest Pokemon fan. Like, just full disclosure.
Yeah,
like,
me neither.
I didn't even play Pokemon Go that much. This is the first like Pokemon movie, right? Like full length feature film, like live action.
The live action, I want to say yes, but they do like their like anime-ish.
No, I know.
Movies for sure.
It's just a weird film to start out on.
Yeah.
Detective Pikachu.
Like if they're gonna build a universe, I don't know if they will, but if they're going to build a universe, oh god, imagine like 10 movies with Ryan Reynolds as Pikachu.
Oh my god,
that'd be so weird.
At what point they gotta do a Deadpool Pikachu crossover, right?
Yeah, that'd be cool.
At some point.
And that it's like kind of ironic is that Ryan Reynolds spent so long trying to like be disassociated from Green Lantern that he wanted to become Deadpool, and then now that he's Deadpool, that's all people can associate him as.
So now he wants to become Pikachu.
Yeah, so now he's Pikachu.
Very interesting. Yeah, I don't know. It looks kind of cute, but also funny and.
Yeah, and they apparently they brought Bo Burnham in to, like write for because the script wasn't too hot, so they brought him to, like write, but then. Maybe they didn't use his rewrites.
That's the idea. That's something I saw, which is interesting. I'm yawning in case it sounded weird just there. It's been a long day. It's been a long life. No,
yeah,
I'm kidding. No, yeah, yeah. I mean, and apparently they brought Bo Burnham in to fix the script, and then he did, and then they didn't use his rewrites. So that's interesting. I would never tell Bo Burnham. I feel like if I brought Bo Burnham in to do anything, I would be like, I don't care what you do. I know it's gonna be good.
Yeah.
And like you can do whatever you want, and I'm gonna say yes.
Yeah, like eighth grade kind of became like a modern classic in a way, and like
Just everything he's done.
And like eighth grade has been getting like Oscar buzz for like not only screenwriting but like directing, and with Elsie Fisher like in lead role. It's so unbelievable how he can go from like putting together these comedy specials that in their own right sort of defied what comedy specials can really do, and
Sure.
I know he would detest that, but and then to all of a sudden just produce like this sort of like heartfelt, wholesome, awesome movie that like accurately depicts like eighth graders and like what not only young kids are going through now with social media and like anxiety, but also like that anyone can relate to.
And then they're like, "Hey, you want to write a Pokemon movie?"
Yeah.
Like,
he was like, okay.
he's like, "I guess," but like, fine, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, God, Bo Burnham.
I know.
Remember when we almost met him?
I know. It's like, I lay awake at night thinking about it. Often.
Every now and then, like, I really do. Like, I get so deeply upset that we didn't meet him. So, we were at I forget where we were. It was a film festival in, like, April. Mm-hmm. And they were showing an early screening of 8th grade. And with, Bo Burnham was going to be there, Elsie Fisher. Right. Which isn't the main reason we went, but it was obviously a driving reason because we wanted to see Bo Burnham in person, and he was going to talk about the movie and do a Q&A with the audience. And we get there, and it's like it's a theater in it was by Tufts.
Yeah,
it was in the Red Line.
Right.
Oh my gosh, I forget the name of the area. It's terrible.
Me too.
Anyway, so it was like a movie theater, a normal theater, and we sat down and we're like, well, let's get some popcorn and some soda before the movie starts.
Right.
Just thinking, we want some popcorn and soda before the movie starts. So we get up, and as we're walking out of the theater into the concession area, we bump into this guy, and like we literally do like not bump into him. We didn't bump into him, but like we're in his way, but he was in our way. We're just trying to walk out the door, and Bo Burnham is like blocking the doorway. Yeah, and if I'm remembering this correctly, like we looked up, we looked up. We looked up.
He's a tall dude.
Yeah, he's a tall man, like 6'5".
Yeah,
and we looked up at him, like he didn't say anything, like we made awkward eye contact, and then like we just kind of like let him pass. Yeah, and then walked straight through. Like it would have been more than reasonable and more than understandable for us to ask him for like a selfie, and I'm sure
or to even be like, "Good job."
Yeah, just congrats. Like hey, big fans.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, we just both kind of froze and then like let him walk away. And the interesting thing was like it was a movie screening full of a lot of it was Emerson students, a lot of it was just film people in general. Yeah. And, like, he was just kind of walking around the theater, and like no one was bothering him.
He was just standing at the back watching the movie.
That's what was so confusing to us because we feel like. How are we the only ones who want to go up to say hi to him?
Yeah, to me it was like Superman. Like
it literally was like it was like if Mark Hamill was at a Star Wars screening.
Yeah,
but like Mark Hamill was just hanging out by himself, and no one was coming up to him and saying anything.
Yeah, and just like watching the movie.
We went to go get our popcorn and our soda. We sat back down. We told the people we were with, we're like, we just saw Bo Burnham, but like kind of sort of met him, but also didn't because we didn't say anything to him. And they were like, "Why didn't you say anything to him?" We're like, "We don't know."
We kind of looked at each other like. What like why did you say it? So damn.
And then but then like we still had a second or third chance to make it right, and we didn't.
Right. And it's I kept like literally I didn't watch half the movie because half the movie I was like watching him watch the movie, which was like watching someone react to like someone else's videos, but it was oh man, it was so rough because we saw him and we were like, oh shit, that's Bo Burnham. Like, what do we say? Like, what do we do? And then all of a sudden we like were talking about it and thinking about it, and then he's just right there in front of us, and our minds went blank. And
we were debating. We kept debating before the movie started. After that happened, we're like, should we go back up? We literally get up right now and go say hi to him if we want to. Yeah. And it's like something about celebrities, man. Yeah. What is it? They're just people.
They're people, and it's crazy. Like, I've met a limited amount of celebrities in the past, but it's like this weird superiority god complex that kind of happens just inevitably.
I think it's like a fear of like, I'm always scared of like finding out someone's a dick.
Yeah. Like
not that he was or he would have been. I doubt he isn't. But and also like the fear of like rejection, like knowing Bo Burnham said no to me in any capacity would be pretty heartbreaking.
Yeah, like two careers that I would love to follow are like the Neil Patrick Harris and like the James Cordens of the world, who kind of like did their theater, did their like TV and all that, and like now they have like their own things and but apparently they're just not cool people in life, and that
really
sucks.
James Corden?
Yeah, James Corden. I know.
Is it a nice guy?
Sad? Yeah, he's not a nice guy apparently in real life.
Where have you heard that from?
I've heard that from few people.
Oh no!
And it makes me sad.
Like what? What has he done?
Well, he's just like not a like great dude in real life apparently.
That's so bad. What?
I love him. I love him too.
I hope you're wrong.
I hope him too. And apparently Neil Patrick Harris, but that's more well known. But
yeah,
it just sucks to hear that, because I feel like there's sort of this surge of like how celebrities treat people. Like if I were to become a celebrity today, I feel like the first 6 months to a year I would be on top of the world, and anyone who gave me the light of day I would talk to for hours and be like, this is what happened. But then I can imagine after a while it kind of becomes tiring, and because it's your job, like it's your job to entertain people, like you're in the service industry, like Bo Burnham talks about, like you're in the service industry to provide people with entertainment, but you just happen to have millions of Instagram followers and like have people watching you and like want to know about your real life outside of your characters, and it's really it's weird.
Yeah, I don't know. I always go back and forth on that, because there's certain situations where it's like I read things that are like I know friends who are like, yeah, like a celebrity, like this guy wouldn't like sign an autograph for me or take a picture with me, and he was like all by himself and I wasn't trying to cause a scene, like they still said no, and I was like, I don't know. There's certain people where there's certain situations where I'm like, I feel like, you know, I'm not personally, like I'm not an autograph guy. I'd much rather have a picture with anyone I meet.
Oh, absolutely.
Like autographs don't mean much to me because I'm not like, you know, unless it's so gross with people who like just like get like hoard them from autographs and just sell them on eBay.
Yeah, that's the worst.
Like I just want a picture with, like if I ever see someone like I really admire or meet, I just want like a picture with them.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you know, like I don't know. But yeah, so that's the story of how we didn't get a picture with Bo Burnham.
Yeah.
And I think we've been going on for like almost an hour now. So
Look at us go.
I know we really can. This can be a 3-4 hour podcast if we wanted it to be. But I think as this plane flies over, I think it's a good kind of time to wrap up.
Yeah, and to salute
the plane, the pilot.
Yeah. I hope they make it.
Me too. Godspeed.
Yeah.
Rooting for you.
I nearly choked on Cheerios earlier, but we survived, and here we are.
And that's what was interesting, because Cheerios were made to not choke.
Yeah.
That's the whole point. It's like a lifesaver. You know, it's like the hole in the middle is supposed to keep you breathing.
Yeah, I guess it's a lesson in a way that, you know, that while something may have its purpose, it doesn't always serve it.
Yeah.
That made sense, right?
I think so.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's about it from us. Stay tuned for episode 3, Revenge of the Sith.
In a couple years.
No, I'm kidding. Hopefully sooner rather than later.
Yeah.
And hopefully we'll have maybe a guest or two on.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
Play a game or two.
Yeah, again, if anyone has any topics or anything that they want us to talk about in the next one.
Any questions?
Yeah,
any life problems?
Concerns. Yeah, that'd be fun to like try and give advice from like two very similar humans.
Two very similar, very similar people who are both thriving right now.
Yeah.
They're thriving right now.
I know a little about a lot of things.
And I know a lot about a little things. So I think it works.
There we go.
I don't know. Yeah, thanks for listening, guys. I'm Brian Dano.
I'm Brian Rook.
And this has been
Brian's in the basement.
All right.